Why Kodak told him that though?
Because his statement is why
what you mean?
Damn,
It's actually been 3 years.
Obviously, you ain't going to court because you was going to court. Every time you go to court, they gonna let us know you going to court. So
I can't go to court for immigration if I got an open gun case.
What about
fool?
the gun case, bull?
I can't go to court for immigration if I got an open gun case.
They will give you your time.
And I just want to say this to y'all. When they raided my houses and my property, they was asking about Wack. Wack, loose cannon, 600, and this internet stuff.
Wack 100's been out here hollering snitch like it's his catchphrase, non-stop for years. But now, a leaked wiretap tied to 21 Savage just hit the net, and suddenly folks are dusting off that old 2005 federal gun case and asking some real uncomfortable questions, like what if Wack's been living double for real, playing watchdog and inside man at the same time? Now picture this, a loudmouth who lives to call out rats, always the first to scream foul, then one day someone spots a flash of something shiny in his wallet. Not money, a cop badge, just for a blink.
Kodak told him that though.
Because his statement is why.
But sometimes one blink is all it takes to blow up a whole persona. Whether it was real or not, trust, that's not even the craziest part. It's not just the video itself that's got people shook, it's who might have leaked it. Word on the street is that it wasn't some random repost, as folks are saying 21 Savage was the one who actually put that footage out himself. And not out of the blue either. He's allegedly been holding on to that tape, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And honestly, can you blame him?
And I just want to say this to y'all. When they raided my houses and my property, they was asking about Wack. Wack, loose cannon, 600, and this internet stuff.
Wack been throwing dirt on 21's name for years, non-stop, calling him a snitch, accusing him of working with ICE to protect his green card, even trying to drag him into that whole YSL situation. Through it all, 21 stayed mostly silent, threw a few jabs, but never really clapped back, until now. If 21 really dropped that wiretap, that wasn't no petty move. That was straight up checkmate. After years of Wack sneak dissing him on Clubhouse like it was a sport, 21 finally fired back. No words, just action. Cold, clean, calculated.
All right, so yeah, after you got that message, After you got the message, you hit up Big U's wife. You said, "Sis, 911. One sec, let me get Solo." And you gave him a heads up.
What I tell him?
You said, "One sec, let me get Solo. He needs to leave. Bad." In caps, all caps. He needs to leave.
I said so bad, right?
And when you start piecing everything together, from the accusations to the distractions, the pattern gets real clear. Wack been out here pointing fingers at the whole industry just to keep people from looking at him. And let's be real, this ain't even the first time somebody tried to link Wack to the feds. Just a few months back, the streets were buzzing with reports that Big U got hit with RICO charges. But here's where things took a wild turn. Right before Big U turned himself in, he hopped on video and straight up said Wack 100 was working with the FBI. Now that's a bold accusation, but it gets even messier. Because guess what? Wack already knew what was coming before the headlines broke, before the indictment dropped, before any paperwork hit the surface. Somehow, Wack was a step ahead. And it didn't stop there. Allegedly, Wack hit up Big U's wife directly, not to check in, not to warn her gently, but with a message that read something like 911, he needs to bounce ASAP. Bad, bro.
Going through it. I said, yeah, I don't know nothing about this. He said, man, y'all too tight. I see Big U's signature. I see other signatures. I'm reading it. And what shook me was the police issued device to communicate with law enforcement in form of a BlackBerry.
Way before Big U even got touched by law enforcement, Wack was already sliding into his wife's messages. That don't sound like a warning. That sounds like someone laying the trap on purpose. Like he had the whole timeline mapped out before the raid even happened, because he made that call too smooth. And here's the twist. Once Big U got locked up, Wack hopped online with the quickness, talking wild. He flipped the whole story, claiming Big U was the one playing dirty. Even brought up a BlackBerry phone, saying Big U used it to talk to the feds like it was some spy thriller. But let's be real, who even still uses a BlackBerry? The internet wasn't buying it. In fact, Wack's little story time did the opposite of clearing his name. All it really did was make people squint harder and start raising more eyebrows. Like seriously, how is Wack always the first to know what's coming down the pipeline? Always in the mix, always connected, but somehow never the one catching heat. That call he made to Big U's wife didn't sound like a favor. It felt like a dude playing both sides of the board. He gave a heads up to the very man he might have helped set up, staying close enough to the action to look useful, but never close enough to take the fall. That's when people started giving Wack the side eye. Maybe he ain't the street watchdog he plays on social media. Maybe he's been finessing the whole game from the start. But what's wild is that this shady pattern, it ain't new. It dates back to a situation in 2005. Word is Wack 100 and his brother got pulled over in Texas. Nothing crazy at first, it's just speeding. The cops did the usual routine. Where you headed? What's the rush? Wack said they were going to a funeral in Oklahoma. But when he refused the car search, that's when things flipped. They brought out the K9 unit, and the dog found everything. A shotgun, a rifle, a pistol, and every single one of them, all loaded. And here's the part that's got everybody whispering, because it just don't add up.
Give you some time, I don't know, 24 hours, 12 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 1 hour, I don't know. I'm gonna give you some time though, Gunner, for you to go ahead on and confess.
Wack and his brother, already convicted felons when they got caught with those loaded weapons. That's instant federal time, no debates. That kind of bust usually ends rap careers before they can even breathe. But somehow, Wack posted bail and dipped right back to LA like it was just a traffic ticket. No mugshot drama, no drawn-out court battle, just silence. Then 2 whole years slide by. Not a peep, no trial, no paperwork updates, no legal noise. And then out of nowhere, boom, the entire case gets dismissed. Not because of missing evidence, not because of some lawyer magic, but because, and I quote, it was dropped in the interest of justice. Now hold up, if you've ever seen how the system really operates, especially when it comes to felons caught with firearms, you know exactly what that sounds like. And if you know, then you know the weight behind that phrase. You don't just see a phrase like interest of justice pop up in paperwork without a trade-off behind the scenes. That ain't some mercy move. It's usually code for somebody gave the system something valuable in return. Wack, of course, tried to clean it up later. Said the case got tossed because the search was illegal. But let's be real, that was pure cap. Court records are out there and clear as day. Not a single word about an unlawful search, no misconduct, no loophole. Just a quiet little line that said, case dismissed, clean, quick, suspiciously easy. But it's the timing that's got folks raising eyebrows the highest. Because just a couple years after Wack's charges vanished into thin air, guess who started feeling the pressure? Suge Knight, Wack's former boss at Death Row Records. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Suge got caught in the heat of a gang injunction. The feds started circling hard, names were dropping, wiretaps were rolling, and raids started tearing up his whole crew. Paper trails and transcripts started surfacing. Connections were being exposed left and right, but Wack, he was never mentioned, not once. While Suge's whole crew was getting snatched up and torn apart, Wack's name was nowhere to be found. Like he'd vanished from the picture entirely. Then boom, the Main Street Crips got caught in that wild kidnapping case connected to Shaq. And deep in the transcripts, a name kept popping up. Back. This Back was out here making calls, leaving voicemails, stirring the pot. But now folks are whispering that Back wasn't just some random alias. They're saying it was really Wack 100 behind that name all along. Now fast forward to present day. This man all over the internet like a street judge, calling out Gunna, BG, Brick Baby, 21 Savage, even Jay Diggs like he's the moral authority out here. But let's cut the act. That 2005 arrest, the one where Wack, a convicted felon, got caught riding dirty with 3 loaded guns in his trunk, that case just vanished. You don't beat a federal weapons charge like that without some serious pull, well, unless you were either the luckiest man alive or you gave something up. And now, nearly 2 decades later, a video surfaces, and in it, people swear they saw a police ID flash for just a second. But that second brought everything rushing back. Not just the badge, not just old beef, but that question that's never gone away since that 2005 case vanished into thin air. What did Wack trade to walk away spotless? Because ever since then, he's been building his whole identity off one thing, that word, snitch. That's his go-to weapon. Anytime a rapper gets locked up, takes a plea deal, or even sneezes near a courtroom, Wack is on Clubhouse in seconds shouting about how they folded. He did it with Gunna too, loud and messy. Claimed he had a whole 2-hour interrogation video, said Gunna was talking, giving names, and he didn't stop there. Wack even threatened to leak the entire thing if Gunna didn't confess. He never dropped that tape, just ran his mouth for hours, stirring drama with no proof. Then he came after BG, a man who already did over 10 years behind bars and came out solid. Wack claimed BG snitched, but never showed a shred of paperwork. Even BG's former cellmate came forward, said straight up, BG never folded, never cracked, stood 10 toes down the whole time. But Wack didn't care. He kept pushing the narrative, loud, messy, and receipt-free. And sure, to folks just scrolling by, it looks like Wack's holding some moral high ground, like he's the voice of the streets. But to the ones really paying attention, the mask been slipping, because once you track the timeline, it's clear. Wack only gets loud when the spotlight starts creeping toward him. Every single time heat comes knocking, he jumps in front of it with a new target. Oh, and let's not forget his sneakiest move. The man records everyone. No heads up, no warning, just straight up surveillance energy. When it's convenient, Wack hits play. But behind the scenes, he's got files on everybody. That's not how real ones move, plain and simple. You don't record every convo unless you've got a motive. Either you're planning to use it as leverage, or you're handing it off to someone who will. And now folks are connecting the dots because this ain't just about drama, it's starting to look strategic. Take Loose Cannon, for example. Wack brought him on Clubhouse, let him talk wild with no filter. Dude said too much, and boom, got hit with charges not long after. That ain't a coincidence, that's a setup. So now the real question is, was Wack baiting these rappers to go off on mic? Was he engineering viral clips just so prosecutors could do the dirty work later? The timing of it all? Too perfect? The arguments, the chaos, the conveniently leaked audio, it all plays out like a script. He knows how to push buttons, how to trigger reactions, and somehow the footage always ends up in the right hands. Sure, there's no smoking gun, but when you step back and look at the full picture, that pattern is getting way too loud to ignore. At some point, you gotta pause and look at the big picture and really look. That leaked video might have lit the match, but the fire didn't come out of thin air. This has been simmering since that 2005 case, the one that disappeared without a trace. Then there's him knowing about the RICO before the feds even made a move, the wiretap slips, the badge flashing in videos, the non-stop habit of recording people without their knowledge. This ain't just chaos, it's a playbook. And now that folks are rewinding the footage and retracing the events, it's starting to feel way more sinister. Like Wack wasn't just around the mess, he was orchestrating it from the background, staying just far enough to avoid the splash, but close enough to direct the drama. Because let's be real, for a guy who loves calling everyone a snitch, where's the proof? No paperwork, no court records, just loud accusations. Meanwhile, the only person who keeps showing up near dismissed charges, sealed files, and mysteriously vanished cases, the same one acting like the street moral compass. Every time heat rises, things just magically get dropped. Exposed? Or have the feds already been hit for years and then he's just been playing his part? That's what makes this whole thing hit different. It's not just about proving Wack's working with the feds, it's about what it means if he really is. What does that say about the stories we eat up, the people we praise, and the platforms we give to so-called real ones? Yeah, it's become a joke online. Folks drop memes, laugh it off. But when real lives start getting flipped and ruined off slick talk and shady recordings, that's when the laughter stops. Wack been out here pointing fingers at everybody, calling them rats, screaming about loyalty. But now, folks are finally spinning the camera back on him, asking the uncomfortable question, was the loudest dude in the room wearing a wire this whole time? Because if that's true, this ain't just gossip. It means the street's been infiltrated, manipulated, and controlled for years, and nobody noticed. And the craziest part? Wack ain't hiding. He's still online, still stirring the pot, and whatever words come out of his mouth next might be the piece that blows this whole thing open. So let me know what you think. Is Wack exposed, or was he always part of the system? Drop a comment, hit that like button, share with your crew, and don't forget to subscribe, because the next chapter might be even wilder. See you in the next one.